Okay, another wonderful time on your television. A very good afternoon to you. You're welcome to the program African Discourse on independent television. My name is Evan Sunokogi. Today on the program, we may just be talking about what has been going on for some days now, talking about the interest that U.S. seems to have shown on Nigeria. Then it's all part of the U.S. interest on Africa. Because we've seen that there seems to be a competitive interest between the U.S. and the China in the issues of Africa. But the big question that analysts are asking is, what are the goals? So what is the special interest that these two world powers seems to be having on the continent of Africa? Well, analysts say that while Africa could benefit from geopolitical competition between the U.S. and China, it will require African countries to be very, very diligent and also to be very, very vigilant. Now, that response seems to be what most persons have been talking about, talking about the way Donald Trump has actually said that Nigeria as a country is a country of major concern as far as security is concerned. So when you just oppose that with what the analyst said, that it is good for U.S. and China to want to have interest on Africa, but Africa or African nations should take that with due diligence and vigilance. So we're going to be talking along that line today on the program African Discourse, and our major focus is going to see the major the competitive interests of China and the U.S. in Africa. What are the goals? Now, to discuss all of this today, we are so privileged to have a professor of vocational and technical education, a former lecturer with the Department of VTE at the University of Benin, Professor Victor Ebenedion. Sir, you're welcome to the program African Discourse.
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay. All right, so it seems to be that right from the end of the COVID-19, that's when we particularly saw the interest that U.S. seems to have been given to Africa. And very recently, we have seen how it has cascaded into what is going on in Nigeria now, what seems to be a major talking point, how the U.S. Has designated Nigeria as a country of major concern. Now, Prof, please tell us, what are the concerns now when we talk about the U.S. and we talk about China, these two countries, super nations of the world, the way they have laid particular interest on the continent of Africa. What do you think are the major talking points?
Well, the U.S. is seen as the agenda. One of the agenda for the African continent is that they want good governance and democracy. That is the umbrella under which they operate. But China itself, they operate with non-interference, okay? They operate with non-interference in the African countries. But beyond these points, majorly is economic interest that they have. They want to, the scramble for Africa has been on pre-colonial days. And after that, there was partitioning of Africa. What is their major interest? Is economic interest and the exploitation of the natural resources that we have in Africa. Africa is a continent itself is seen as the richest continent in the world. And so the resources that they have here, that we have here, they are being exploited by these superpowers to better their economy and better their persons. So their goal, the bottom line is their own interest. Whereas we also benefit from them. There are some benefits in terms of infrastructural development and other benefits, development, infrastructural development and human capacity building, because they are advanced countries. But beneath all these ones, there are economic considerations. And that's why people are warning. They are trying to tell us that we have to be very careful. Africans must be very careful to accept them hook, line, and sinker, because they are likely to, go under and do something that is not to the benefit of Africans. Mm. So it's important that we should be very watchful. But do we have the capacity to be watchful when we see them as, they are our benefactors in all ramifications, without putting on our thinking caps? So it's important that we should grow up instead of relying on handouts from the superpowers, so to speak. We have talked about China. People say nothing goes for nothing. China is all out in African continent to exploit our resources, and they are giving loans, unsustainable loans that we cannot pay. So you see, they give loans with unsustainable terms, that we have a debt overhang in Africa. So, and that one is not a very good development for Africans. Resources are coming from here, but we are overburdened with debt that we cannot pay. No. So that itself affects our own development, that we become totally reliant on them in this century that we are.
Okay. Now, one other thing that seems to be playing out, and that also seems to be on the front burner when we talk about U.S. interest and China's interest in Africa, is the fact that this interest, they come in terms of aid, aid and help and all that. And they also don't come just like that. I mean, most times we see human capacity developments coming along with it. Like, for example, China, they have most investments in countries of Africa. And those investments were told that they come with human capacity developments for African citizens and all that. Then also, even the U.S., we also see how they have intervened in terms of giving aids, to African nations and all that. Now, do we really, because the whole thing seems, just like what the analyst said, that though this interests, these things that they do for African nations are good, but we should accept them with diligence and vigilance.
That's true.
But against that background now, some persons have actually, they're apprehensive. So do we now say that these things may not just be free, that we don't need them anymore? I mean, these foreign aids, incentives and all, we don't need them anymore.
Well, we have to reach a point that we should win ourselves. It's like winning a baby. We have been on their feeding bottle for a very long time. We'll grow out of it in a way. Otherwise, we will never be independent in the whole of a lifetime. So, the aids are good. They help us with human development. Our indices will improve and all that. But for how long are we going to accept all those things without looking inward, without growing to a point? They started from somewhere, and now they can give food, they can give everything, they can give aids, they can give training to all parts of the world. China yesterday was not a first world country, no. I remember my father used to say, this thing was made in China. It was like Onisha made or something like that.
Yeah.
But they grew, and they have overcome the whole world. Both nuclear power, they are there. Manufacturing, they are there. Technology, they are there. Science, they are there. So if they had just sat back and say, okay, you know what they did? They had to put on iron curtain. Nobody's going to leave this country. We either develop or we sink. And everybody started putting on their thinking cap. That was what their government did. In no time, they exploded, and they are now the ones dominating and colonizing the world economically.
Okay. Now, there seems to have been a major, debate between the character of Donald Trump as a person, as a character, and of course as the current U.S. president. The debate is that his own agenda seems to be running contrary to the U.S. Foreign policy to to the world. So how do we just oppose all of all this when we relate it to the U.S. interest in Africa?
Well, the other day I used the language, you had to say it was too harsh on this program. Donald Trump is a loose cannon, so to speak. He can hit anybody.
But he states the obvious.
Yes, but see, you cannot leave somebody to be so free like that. Even the U.S. Congress, they have a problem containing him. So he goes, what I call a loose cannon. He goes, hit this side, hit this side, hit that side. You can't allow somebody to have that kind of freedom to operate. No. America is seen as the policeman of the world.
Yeah.
And so they have a super cop now.
Who is the president? Donald Trump.
Yes, who is doing it, to the extent that nobody can even hold him. So we have to be extremely careful. He has threatened Nigeria in recent times. The other time he asked African countries to come and be taking people from America, people who were released from the prison, they should accommodate them. So we won't know what he will do next. It's very unpredictable. And such a character, we have to be very circumspect of such a character, so that we will not find ourselves in a position that is at variance with what he wants to do.
Okay. All right, so the program is still African Discourse on independent television, and our focus of this afternoon is to look at the continuous interest between the United States of America and, of course, China. You may call it, competitive interest that these two nations have for the African continent. What are their goals is what we're talking about this afternoon. So we'll take a short pause, and when we return, we'll see to some other issues concerning the topic we're handling this afternoon. We'll be right back. Thank you one more time. The program is still on your television, African Discourse. Professor Victor Igbenedion is our guest this afternoon, and the competitive interest between China and the U.S. in Africa is what we are looking at this afternoon. Now, Prof, some analysts will say that from the look of things, the Chinese interest seems to be backed up by mineral materials, just like what you said. I mean, the reason why they're interested in Africa is nothing but some raw materials and all that. So one could readily say that that is their goal, that is their mission. But as for U.S., because it's somehow difficult to really place it. Now, some say that U.S. is also interested in raw materials, while some say that no, U.S. just want to be known as the police of the world. Now, from your own point of view, what do you think is U.S. really interested in Africa?
I would say, first of all, they see themselves as superpowers. So they are very domineering, and but they come with the garb of, we want good governance and democracy. They are the enforcers of democracy.
How does that benefit them? I mean,
yeah. That's why I say it's like a smoke screen. They will say that is what they are enforcing. But behind is also economic. For example, U.S. is the greatest importer of crude oil in Nigeria. They cannot just say they are interested in Nigeria. The benefits are there. Were they not the ones that supplied us to Kano jets? So their interest is very vast in the African continent. Nigeria also being the largest African black population in Africa. So, population determines the market. So if they are able to penetrate, the market in Africa is very attractive to the US, the Chinese, and everybody. It is here they get their natural resources to power their industries. And they, in turn, will manufacture and send them back to the African continent and other parts of the world.
Now, Prof, this competitive interest now, where do you think is the direction? Because like what's played out recently, whereby Donald Trump designated Nigeria as a country of major concern. Now we saw Beijing, the Chinese President Xi Jinping reacting, seems to be supporting that Nigeria is a sovereign nation. So hence the interest in Nigeria seems to be very competitive. So this competition between these two nations as it relates to Nigeria and perhaps other African countries, where do you think it's heading to? Where's he heading to? Is he healthy for the continent?
Not too healthy. There's what they call the proxy conflict.
Yeah, conflicts of proxy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is what's going to happen eventually.
In Africa?
Yes, because it's like a third party. Third parties fighting. They have a foothold on Africa, as it were. Their interest, China, US, and we begin to fight over these things so that we can benefit from the spoil. They will take control of this side. They will take control of this side.
Oh, you mean the fights may be artificial to benefit from the spoil?
Yes, we'll begin to fight ourselves, fighting for them to protect their own interest. That's what they call conflict, proxy conflict. We are the ones on the ground. They are here too, but we now start to fight. This I support China. I support US. That's what they call. They will not be fighting themselves, but we are the one
fighting ourselves.
Yes, that is where it's going to end up if we are not careful. So we must be very, very careful. And when we start to fight ourselves, they will be enjoying. They will be laughing at us. We will not allow our continent or our country to degenerate to that level, because once they see conflict amongst us, they will say they want to help to mediate and all that one, and that perpetuates their hegemony in Africa continent. So we have to be extremely careful on how to manage ourselves.
Okay. Now, what is happening in Nigeria as it stands now seems not to be up to what is going on in the DRC. That's the Democratic Republic of Congo. We've seen how the militancy has been going there, for quite some time now. How come a person like Donald Trump has not, designated that nation as a country of major concern? Because what is happening in the DRC seems to also be because when this crisis starts, it cuts across ethnicity, it cuts across religion and all that. So why not paying special interest in the DRC, but rather, starting from Nigeria? From your point of view,
do you think that the DRC, they don't have powers behind their conflict that they cannot reconcile, just like in Sudan and all those places? There are people, superpowers behind those conflicts. They fuel these conflicts so that they continue to remain there and benefit. As the fight is going on, the copper in DRC, is it not being mined? It's still being mined. So they set themselves against themselves, the locals against themselves. When I say local now, the country itself, with the minerals that they set them against themselves. And it will linger for a long time. By the time they finish, there will be no mineral left there anymore. So it's important that we have to be very circumspect of their interest in Africa. I just told you that how China locked themselves in. Why couldn't America go there now and say they want to? Now, America is very careful on how to deal with the Chinese now.
Yeah.
Very, very careful. Because I remember their president said, once they can press a button and every place will be leveled. So it's not a matter of America beating its chest that they are this and that. Chinese have advanced so much beyond. For them to, in modern day, they have dominated everywhere. In Africa and in parts of the world. That's what Donald Trump is trying to do now. He's trying to reduce their influence in America.
Parts of the world.
Yes, in parts of the world and in America. They produce things and ship to America. And the manufacturing sector in America, they are in trouble. Because what the Chinese will bring there is cheaper than what they will sell. So he began to, that's how the trade war started. Imbalance. Began to put tariff. So we don't want your goods here. Our people are unemployed. So we have to be very, very careful, as I said, in accepting even their gifts. Some of the gifts are Greek gifts. You have heard the saying that there's no free lunch. So whatever they give to you, they give you with this right hand and take it back with the left hand. Why are we so impoverished? We have been exporting fuels for a long time. Yet I was listening to radio this morning. They were saying that, oh, Donald Trump is coming to Nigeria, this and that. Is this your station? No? And the person was now saying, how have we benefited all along? This one that we are saying, let him come or let him not come. How have we benefited from the humongous amount the country has been exporting, the dollars has been making? How has it trickled down to the individuals?
But again, I think we also need to give it to Donald Trump, because what Donald Trump seems to be doing, or the mindset of the average American government, is that U.S. seems to enjoy what they call the ripple effect. I mean, anything that happens in any parts of the world, if the U.S. doesn't check it, the ripples effect, spirals to the U.S. So the insurgency in parts of Nigeria and maybe parts of Africa, then of course Donald Trump needs to be concerned about it, because if not checked with time, it becomes a major disturbance, to the U.S. Don't you think so?
Well, in a way, it can be. Because it can spiral through the whole Sahel and to Africa, the whole of Africa. Because it's their interest still. If there's high the stability of the Sahel region and Nigeria, it's not in their interest. They want to have they want to have a grip of the system, whatever you call it, democracy or not. Because when the country is separated, other world powers will come in and start to mine our resources. Okay, look at Zamfara now. I think you know that the resources there, they are not even credited to Nigeria.
Well, all those remain allegations though.
So helicopters plane will land there, take their gold and go
mine
away.
Gold and all that. They remain allegations. So.
Yes. And what is the interest in Sambisa Forest? There's a new dimension, a new twist to the whole of this thing about resources. We never believed that there will be resources around that Sambisa Forest and all that one. But
so are you saying invariably now that for Donald Trump to express interest, about the insurgency, well, maybe like what some persons are saying now, under the guise of, saying that there seems to be a genocide against the Christian, that is something that is in the Sambisa that America is interested in?
Yes, no. Don't you have lithium there? Then you have other very expensive mineral resources there. And they didn't get there first. Other countries, they are using these terrorists or whatever they go to mine it, pushing Nigeria back. So America is interested. Maybe they want to get it formally and push. Because no other country has really come out now that is working in tandem with the federal government.
Now, how correct is it that China, seems to be fingered in all of this?
No. Chinese. China, they are like a nice snake. They are not as good as they look.
Well, that's your opinion.
Yes. Well, you see the factories they created that they are working. How do they treat Nigerians? That's the problem. That's their mindset. Their mindset is for exploitation and nothing more.
So you think that seems to be the early response of Beijing to Donald Trump's position on this Christian genocide?
Exactly. So why are you going? Where there's sovereignty? Why are you going there? Because they are already here. They want to come and share the spoil with us. That is why China is talking. No.
All right, so we will take another break now. Don't forget the program. It's still African Discourse on independent television. And we are looking at two major powers of the world, the Chinese and the Americans. China and America, their continuous interest in Africa is what we are looking at. So what are the goals? What do they really intend to achieve is what we're going to be looking at. So when we return on the other side of this program, we're going to be looking at the factors that may have promoted a sense of unity in China that made China to be a superhero, in the world today. That other continents of the world, maybe African continents, also need to learn from. We'll be right back. All right, thank you one more time. The program still on your television, African Discourse. Yes, we are looking at the continuous interest of Africa, the continuous interest of China, and of course the US in the continent of Africa, and what really are the goals of these two countries is what we are looking at today. Now, Prof, now let us, because so far we've been able to single out China, the way China has, seems to have taken over in terms of, maybe trying to flex muscle with the US and all that. Now, let's take China now. Maybe when we talk about China, African nations should be able to learn, to see how they can learn from China. Now, from your own perspective, what do you think are the factors that may have worked out for China as a nation? That it is now a super nation of the world, and no country of the world can actually threaten them, or even, want to say anything against them the way other nations are. So what are the factors that may have worked out for them?
If I say it's good leadership and determination. They had a leader who stood firm. Say, see, we are not going to continue to do the things we were doing before.
Good leadership or good system of government? Because somebody has said that China practices communism, that's the system of government. Mm-hmm. Is it a good leadership or a good system of government?
It's good leadership. I would say it's good leadership. Did Russia not practice it? The old Russia, the Soviet Union, and it collapsed. You see, when you have good leadership, a leader that who knows the direction the country should go, it will not fail. It will not fail. But we have a hydra-headed problem in the country, in the African continent. Leaders, incompetent leaders, perpetuating themselves in offices.
The Paul Bias.
Yes. And before the other one in Zimbabwe died the other day, you know how old he was? He was falling. So we need good leadership. People with good ideas. I tell you, if you come altruistically with good ideas, tendency that people will follow you. You see, in Ghana, Rawlings was the game changer. He saw that his country can be retrieved, and he put machinery in motion to do so. By the time he has cleaned the audience table, he came back. He left and contested as a civilian president. He won. He did the best. By the time he left, Ghana has moved up the pedestal to a better level. You see Mahama now, he came back again. They gave it to another person the other day, and they saw that the country was sinking. Because of the pedigree of Mahama, they re-elected him. People will come. So when you are doing the right thing, you must continue to do it. What we learned from, you remember Tiananmen Square, how they killed people there? No, you see, when people can be protesting, but they may not have good aim of doing so, because it can be mobilized to riot or protest or anything. And a good leader will know the directions things are going and say, this is the best direction for you. You won't have any skeleton in his cupboard. It's Africa, you will be saying one thing, it's on paper, but you are doing a different thing entirely. You are pillaging the country. You have accounts abroad, billions and trillions. There's nothing, the Bible says there's nothing hidden under the sun.
Now, a while ago, you said that the U.S. behaves as the police of the world.
Yes.
They mediate, between issues, mediating issues, among warring nations in the world, warring interests and all that. Now, we understand that in another few days' time, there's supposed to be a G20 summit in South Africa. And Donald Trump has said that he's not going to be part of that summit in South Africa. Now, reasons because of the white farmers' issues. Remember the white farmers' issues?
Yes.
How the blacks are alleged to have driven away the white farmers from their ancestral lands and all that and all that. So Donald Trump has said that it's not going to be part of that G20 summit. Now, don't you think this character of Donald Trump wanting to be a racist, I don't want to pull that now, because let it not be that Donald Trump tries to police affairs of the world on one hand, then on the other hand he tries to be a racist. How do you look at it?
What do you expect? Racism is in America.
Because one would have thought that, Donald Trump would have, if really America is the police of the world, maybe Donald Trump also trying to be the police of the world. One would have thought that he would have been in that G20 summit. To really, because on that G20 summit, the issues of the white farmers and the black farmers in South Africa, are going to be discussed extensively. But he has said that it's not going to be there.
Because it's very autocratic. It's either what he wants must be done. And people now is gradually having a counterpart, that can counteract him in China. He has to be very careful with China. You see, China is bold enough now to come out that Nigeria is a sovereign
nation.
You cannot talk about a country of particular concern.
And no response has also been given to that.
I've told you how the Chinese president said one thing. Say, if you do one thing, we press a button. Everywhere we level. For them to say that, so it's better he doesn't even go there with the mindset that he has, because whether you like it or not, China will be having their own people that will follow them.
Yes.
You see, they are very dominating. They are very domineering, U.S. And so if they have something to counterbalance them, they will support the other party. So that is what is going to play out ultimately. So that no one person will say is in charge of the whole world.
But don't you think this, because what analysts seems to be saying now is that if Donald Trump is not going to be in that G20 summit, that this may cascade into another bout of maybe, I don't want to use the word crisis now, a confliction of interest between the Chinese and the U.S. in Africa.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Somebody, how do we used to put it? It says, you carry your sacrifice beyond the marshalship. So he will do what he's doing to the point that he will not be sidetracked. And the world will go on in a way that he will not even believe until he starts to pinch himself. It's an opportunity for the G20 to say, well, you know, in the UN, they will veto. He will veto. He will do a lot of things. So people will come around and say, this one of the US is too much. Let us do something. So there's no country or no person that is indispensable. They must forge ahead. The G20 will forge ahead, and the summit will hold. You're talking about our ancestral home of the white. Is it their land? They came there and dominated the people. I'm not in support that they should be driven away, but they just escalated the whole thing. Just like in Zimbabwe. They gave them land, they dominated the people first. The people came back now to the realization, say, well, we also need land to farm. We cannot be paying for our ancestral land. No. So,
all right, so as we comment our dissent now, let's begin to look at how we can change the narrative now, because we have extensively said that the interest of the Chinese in Africa is backed up by economic interests and all that.
Yes.
Why the US may be wanting to express a democratic interest
and a good governance.
Democratic interest.
It's a small screen. It's a small screen.
All right. So for African nations now, how do we begin to, you know, highlight on this issue so that we can change the narrative, as they were?
We have to look inward. I keep saying that thing. Over-dependence on these superpowers or Western world is not good for us. We are blessed with a lot of resources. And as I said, we have to wean ourselves from their breast, so to speak.
Yeah, but all attempts that we have made to depend on ourselves, they have failed us, like what has been going on in Nigeria now. I mean, the insurgency in Nigeria can be backed from 2007 or 2009, 2009, and this is 2025. I mean, for more than a decade now, Nigeria has been battling. So all efforts seems to have failed. So if a U.S. president signifies interest to want to help, don't you think it should be a welcomed development? Because the government of the day may want to try to create the impression that all is well. But you and I know, I mean, the citizens of this country are on the receiving end. Yes. They know what it is, what the reality of things. So if we say that U.S. is welcomed, don't you think it's not a bad position at all?
As far as the fight against the insurgency is concerned, well, if they can help, it's all right. But because you know, I was reading this morning that the generals, they are the ones escalating the war, retired generals.
Escalating which war now?
This insurgency.
Nigerian retired generals?
Yes.
How?
Some of them. They are the ones sponsoring. You know, we have not been able to give out the sponsors of these insurgents, Boko Haram and the rest. There are people behind them. And they say it's retired generals. You know, they say that you can call them allegations, that a lot of Nigerian troops, they have moles within them. Those Boko Haram they captured before, they say, let us rehabilitate them. And if they are going to attack, they send message. They thought they have been profiled and rehabilitated and absorbed into the Nigerian army. Those are the ones. You see, the Nigerian army is moving somewhere. They will ambush them and kill them. So there is inside information. That's why they war.
So what is their motive? What do they intend to gain to continuously keep the nation under perpetual?
Yes, because of the mineral resources that they are mining. You know, the black man has capacity. It's never full. We acquire. That's what they call primitive acquisition. He will acquire and acquire and acquire, and will not use it for anything. Just for people to worship. That is the problem. I wish they corner these resources now and apply it back to the system. it would have been better. They don't employ people. They keep the money there. When they die, the money is
Now,
gone.
how can the federal government now, let's take Nigeria as a case in question.
Yes.
How do you think the federal government of Nigeria can really handle this, resources fights over resources and all that? How?
We need a leader that is altruistic. He has to have, it's a risk, big risk. He can take his life. But we need somebody to start something. Just like Murtala Muhammad did at the time. First of all, he purged himself and started a fight. But he paid with his life. So if we don't have a leader who doesn't want to make any sacrifice, the whole thing will continue. Begin to placate people, this one. We will reach a breaking point someday that we cannot continue. You see, the youths now are getting very restless. They are the ones raising alarm, wanting to protest about one thing or the other. There is an extent to which you can silence them. Of course, we are growing old too. If not for the money, you cannot control the system anymore. And we are leaving a very bad legacy for the
youth.
For the youth.
Yeah, the African youth. We saw what happened in Morocco about 2 weeks ago. The Gen Z, youths of a certain age, they came out to protest bad governance.
Yes. What about the other time? There are another country here in Kenya.
It happened in Kenya too. Even in Nigeria, this NSAS protest.
Yes. Cambodia or something, one country like this. It happened. So we are nearing the precipice. It's very dangerous. So we need a good leader that will reset the tone for good governance.
When will this good leader come? When? When? When, Prof?
It's difficult to say. If we are
maybe the next election.
That is too soon.
2027 is too soon to have the next good leader.
When everything is almost set, the same way that they have been doing.
Perhaps the good leader is even not yet given birth.
Well, things can change dramatically. We hope so.
Okay. All right, so we'll leave the discussion here this afternoon, and I want to say a very big thank you to Professor Victor Igbenedion, a professor of vocational and technical education, shedding light on some of the questions that we asked, on the program today. We've been talking about the interest of the U.S. and China in Africa, the competitive interest that these two nations of the world have been having on one continent. Two great nations of the world having interest on just only one continent. Now, we also quickly talked about how the U.S. government is going to boycott the G20 summit in South Africa. And some of the rider that we have to that is that Donald Trump has said that the U.S. will not attend the G20 summit in South Africa over widely discredited claims that the white people are being persecuted in the country. Then the U.S. president said it was a total disgrace, and that South Africa is hosting the meeting where leaders from the world's largest economies will gather in Johannesburg later this month. Now, Prof, I don't understand what Donald Trump is trying to say here, that the African country cannot hold world leaders. Is that what he's trying to say? That it's going to be a big disgrace that leaders of greatest economy in the world will be gathered in Johannesburg? I don't understand. I really don't understand.
That is where it's going to be very impactful if they come and see for themselves.
Yeah.
The decline of the country.
The perception of the continent by other world leaders. I mean, for Donald Trump to say that greatest economies of the world to gather in Johannesburg, that is what he is not comfortable with.
Where else would they gather?
I wonder.
Where else would their impact be felt? It's in Africa. It's the continent of Africa.
Yeah.
So they should go there, undermine him and go there, and pound out good policies that will be favorable to Africa.
All right, so the foreign ministry, the spokesman of South African Foreign Ministry has described the decision of Donald Trump as a very regrettable decision. Very, very regrettable. I mean, for the U.S. president to say that he cannot fathom, he cannot imagine leaders of great economies of the world to come to Johannesburg for the G20 summit. So that's what Africans should know.
Yes.
That the way we are seeing is not a good one at all. So leaders of Africa, I mean, we need to sit tight on some of these issues. Prof, I really want to say thank you so much for joining us on the program today, African Discourse.
Yeah.
All right, so at the same time, and next week the program will return your way and on your same television, independent television. Until then, my name is Evan Sunokoge. Good afternoon.